You know, there's a hollowed out place, and of course, you know, Northerners would call it a hollow, but in West Virginia they call it a holler, and people live back in those hollers, and they've got, you know, I mean, neighborhoods of people back in there, churches back in there. We go to a church back in a holler. It's called let's see, we go to Bell, West Virginia, turn on Witcher Creek, and then we turn on Dry Branch Road. And then we go out to this church, Esta Baptist Church. And but the man who wrote it, he lives in Pete Holler. But, you know, in West Virginia, they call everything a hill. It can be a big mountain. They call it a hill. So that's why he named this song The Other Side of the Hill. But it's about Abraham and Isaac walking up the mountain of Mount Moriah. And they were walking up that mountain. But and Abraham had been told by God to sacrifice his son. Now, God did not intend for him to do that, but God was testing him. It was a test. And my friend, we'll all have tests. And God, you say, well, God already knows what we're going to do. He knows everything, but for some reason, maybe He wants us to see learn something about ourselves. But Abraham was going up there with his son Isaac. Isaac was not a little boy, as some have portrayed him to be. He was a young man at that time, at least in his late teenage years. And they were walking up that hill, that dark day. But what Abraham did not know was something was coming up the other side of the hill. A ram. And that was God's provision. That was God's sacrifice right there, that ram. But Abraham did not see it until he got to the top. When he got to the top, he looked over and he took the knife in his hand. And God said, don't do it, Abraham. He looked around, and there was a ram caught in the thicket. And that's what God had in mind. But he didn't see it. If he had stopped halfway up the mountain and said, I can't go through with this. If he had stopped halfway and said, God's asking too much of me, turned and went back down the mountain, he would have missed one of the great, he wouldn't have made the Bible, that's for sure. And he would have missed one of the great things that God did in the Bible when He provided that ram and taught us a lesson. So the name of this song is The Other Side of the Hill, written by my friend in West Virginia. Now it's got a little bit of a West Virginia flavor, and so I hope you enjoy it. Climbing by faith, Abraham led his son up the hill. Amen. Bearing the wood on which the sacrifice would be killed. With confident steps, believing God, he obeyed His will. Not knowing his answer, was already climbing the other side of the hill. God never sleeps, and He's always busy in ways you can't see. And He'll get the glory and good from this trial. You just wait and see. And while we despair and pray for help to follow His will, He's got a ram that's already climbing the other side of your hill. Now there may be a mountain facing you that you don't want to climb. God has not revealed His plans to you, and your world's on the line. Listen to this. But out of your sight, already in motion, help's on the way. God already knew, and your answer was coming before you could pray. God never sleeps, and He's always busy in ways you can't see. And He'll get the glory and good from this trial. You just wait and see. sure like that song. I do. Some people love that song. Some people won't even say amen when we sing it. But maybe we need to sing it more in West Virginia. I don't know. Well, we're going to do a song that I just enjoy this song. It's called My Redeemer is Faithful and True. We've been serving the Lord now together. Oh, how many? Is it 40 years? 42 years we've been serving the Lord together.
Praise the Lord.
Back before we got married, we were singing together. She was the church piano player when she was 10 years old. And then she played for a little quartet that we had in her daddy's church when she was 11 years old. And we were all teenagers. And so we started out then, and we've been singing all these years. We've worn out 2 or 3 groups. And then our own children left us, and now we're down to 2 of us. But I like this song. We could tell you tonight, you know, there have been some dark times, there have been some valleys, been some storms, and been some battles along the way, but we could tell you tonight, our God's been faithful. And He's been faithful, and He's been true. As I look back down this road I've traveled, I see so many times He's carried me through. And if there's one thing that I've learned in my life, my Redeemer is faithful and true. My Redeemer is faithful and true. Everything He has said He will do. Every morning His mercies are new. My Redeemer is faithful and true. My heart rejoices when I read His promise. There is a place that I'm preparing for you. I know someday I'll see my Lord face to face. My Redeemer is faithful and true. My Redeemer is faithful and true. Everything He has said we will do. Every morning His mercies are new. My Redeemer is faithful and true. And in every situation He has proved His love for me. When I lack the understanding, He gives more grace to me. My Redeemer is faithful and true. Everything He has said He will do. Every morning His mercies are new. My Redeemer, He is faithful